I've teamed up with some of my friends that are also DIYers, and we've got some great things to show you, and we're going to get started on mine right now.
All right, so getting started, we are going to be duping, or really use as an inspiration, these little Christmas balls that are definitely used with some molds. I'm not going to make them pink though. I'm starting off with my IOD mold. This one is like the locks and keys one. And I'm not using the IOD clay. That was because at this point I did not have it yet. I actually just opened up the box with it in there, so future ones, I'm going to try that out. It's supposed to be really, really good quality, so I'm excited to do that. Before I put my clay in there, though, I did sprinkle in some of the cornstarch so it would come out easily enough. And then I'm just going to go around and kind of clean up all of the edges just so there's not a ton of little pieces left over. If you don't do that, you can take like a really small piece of like sandpaper to it, or anything like that if you miss spots. It's kind of hard to do, to be honest. I had a hard time getting it like that really perfect, pristine edge, if it makes sense. But anyways, even with this clay, I got it off of Amazon. I did end up with a pretty decent like detail to it. So what I did is I put it on this ornament. That is what we're going to glue it to. I put it on there so it would start to set up and dry a little bit first, maybe for 30 minutes or so. And then what I'll do is I'll take my super glue, it's like Fix-It-All glue, whatever it's called. It's from the Dollar Tree. And then I just put it on there and I painted that completely in this dark hunter green color, which is actually Waverly Fern and Waverly ink mixed. And I'm taking some gold paint. I'm going to use this through the whole video, these colors. This one is brushed gold from Brushed Metal, Folk Art, something or other. There's lots of names for this one. And I'm going to just kind of basically brush over all of that detail. Now when you do that, it gives it a pretty bright look. We're going to layer it up. This is the way I like to do at least this kind of look. I don't know. I don't really know what to call it. Does it have a name? You guys will have to let me know if it has a name. After I did the gold, I'm going in with some black. And on this one, I'm more or less trying to pounce in there and trying to get inside all of the like insets. I think that makes sense. Let me know if it doesn't. I'm gonna quickly hit it with my heat gun. That is like a multi-temperature one. That one is set on cool right now, so I don't melt anything because that sucker gets hot. And I'm going to take a flat brush with that same gold that I did the first layer of, and I'm going to brush over all of the raised areas. So I'm hoping that makes sense, / you can kind of see what I'm doing. So once that is all done, like I said, I mean, if you take your time with it, that way you can really make sure you hit all of the right areas. It's going to give it a lot more of a realistic look, because if you had like a little piece of metal, you know, the insets wouldn't necessarily be that shiny anymore, even if you shined it up, because you can't get to them easily. At least that's the story I'm telling myself in my mind. Anyways, to me, it does not look like a piece of clay. Maybe you could tell the difference. I don't know. You guys will have to let me know if you think it looks like it was made out of clay once we get down to the, you know, the end of it. And see, I'm just showing you all that detail. Like I said, it really brings it out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish off the top part of it. That little part on the top, it was like a silvery thing, but before I was going to use this for a different project like a few weeks ago, and I glued it down and I had to like rip it apart to get it to come off, so we're going to have to make a top of it. I'm just going to take some of this black twine from the Dollar Tree and wrap it around, kind of like the part that has all the ribbing. You want to glue it as you go, otherwise it comes off like it just did, and that's not going to help anybody. Eventually I'm going to get it down a decent amount. You don't have to get it completely to the top, just depending on what you're putting up there. If you have like a really pretty like decorative knob, that would be really, really pretty on the top of this. I'm going to take some of that Fix-It-All adhesive glue again, and I'm going to put some on the insides as well as some on like the lip of that little opening. I was like, well, I need it to stay, and then I put some on, you know, like basically where the little wood bead meets the rest of the ornament, and then it wasn't sitting as it wasn't drying basically. I was gonna try and move it and do stuff before it was really dry, and I was not about to sit there and hold it forever. So I added a little bit of hot glue, and I'll finish wrapping that twine around. and I will take that same gold paint and do just a quick little dry brush of it up on the top. You can kind of pick and choose how you want to do this, if you want to do this. I went ahead and did a little bit of the dry brushing to the twine part as well. I'll put a little twine in there and seal everything. And here's how it turned out though. It turned out pretty nice. I really like this one. This is definitely my favorite. All right, so here's a couple of different inspirations on this one. These ones are not going to be exactly the same, much like the last one wasn't. So they're kind of more like inspired by. Now I'm going to link the place I printed these off from. It is Creative Fabrica. Fabrica, I think that's how you say it. And I've got it linked below for you if you want to join in. They do have a subscription option, and I worked out a little deal with them where they will let my subscribers join in for $1 for the first month, and I believe it renews at $19. So if it's something you just want to go in, check out what's there, it gives you it for a pretty inexpensive option, and there's tons and tons of things to print. Now on these little tags, when you're lining them up, line them up off of the top, because obviously they're not all exactly the same size, as you have to trim it down like I'm doing there. But that is going to allow you to be able to get the holes lined up if you line it from the top. Now I've got some IOD stamps, and I just did a quick little, padding with the actual ink from IOD, the ink pads. They're my favorite. I tried to use a different one on a project recently and it just didn't work as well. And these are from a new one. These stamps are available right now. They're called, I believe, Merry and Bright. I'm going to leave the place that I get my IOD stuff from. Her name is Kimberly, and she's from My Victorian Heart. She's super, super sweet. And I'll leave that linked for you below if you want to check her out. I've got this little pick. I got it from Joann's. I think I got it at like a buy one get two free sale or something. And I'm just going to add just a little bit of that up on the top part. I just wanted to add a little bit of detail to this one. I was like on the fence of how to put it in there, but you can kind of pick and choose how you want to embellish stuff. I'll show you one in just a minute where I didn't do any of the embellishments. And this project would look actually really pretty too if you don't have any pattern behind it. I tried to pick some of these music tags that had less of the black, at least for one of them. This one has obviously got quite a bit of, the music showing. And now I'm using a couple of different stamps. This first one is that same Merry Christmas that I used on the first one. And then these little snowflakes are actually off of a pack that is retired. But sometimes you can find them though. There's different stockists, I believe they're called, that'll have them sometimes. And if Kimberly over at the My Victorian Heart doesn't have them, a lot of times she'll help you find one too. And here is how they both turned out on the tree. I love this tree, by the way. It's new. I can't get over how much I like it. And today is part of duping for the holidays. Now there is a question that you have to answer to be entered in to win a $100 gift card. And I want you to go ahead and answer which of these is your favorite, and is this kind of decor stuff your style? Do you like it kind of idea? Anyways, leave that comment below. And there's also going to be an extra little giveaway as well. Just make sure you leave plaid in your comment as well. All right, on to our next one. Now, these ones were actually inspired by this. I was going to do a chalk couture thing. It did not work for me at all. I don't know. I always have a hard time using chalk couture stuff on rounded surfaces. It just wasn't happening for me. So I've got some decoupage paper. This one is from Decoupage Queen. I get this from My Victorian Heart as well. And this is actually rice paper. So when you tear it, I ended up tearing it instead of cutting it. It leaves like a little furry trim. So just be aware of that. Going back, I probably should not have done that, but that's okay. Anyways, I do add some Mod Podge just to fix it down, and then I'm going to coat it in Mod Podge as well. And also, so you know, the color these little flat ornaments is Waverly ink. And I believe, yes, these ones came from the Dollar Tree also, these plastic ornaments. I took the lid off of them just so I could get the black underneath them, and I'm going to reattach these ones instead of fabricating my own little top part. Anyways, we are just going to do that one is done, and then I'm going to use this rub-on transfer that is from Prima. I'm going to trim it around to kind of make it fit the color scheme that I'm going with. I will tape it down, and the tape doesn't really help me that much, but I'm going to kind of work with it. And now since it's going on this thing that is rather rounded around, you know, around the perimeter of the ornament, it ends up kind of folding a little bit. The transfer itself, it gives it some creases, and I just kind of tried my best to get it in places that weren't either as noticeable or it wasn't over like my Santa Claus's face, the kid's face. Just trying to work it to where those little creases aren't as noticeable, and I wasn't worried about it. This style of like this Victorian kind of, you know, shabby chic look to these ornaments, I wasn't worried about having some imperfections, some different details in it. Once I've gotten it down, I am going to just smooth it around with the transfer paper just to get it kind of nice and stuck down. And I do give it a coat of Mod Podge with like the little spray bottle one. Yep. I'm just going to gloss that over with a brush, and here it is, all finished up, the two of them. They look great. I love them. I'm really loving this style for Christmas right now. All right, now I have from the Dollar Tree a flour sack towel. You get it in like the kitchen area. And I've got some more IOD stamps. These are from the pack that are currently available. And I'm just going to stamp those down up there in the corner. I don't know. I don't know if it helped any, but I got a little brayer out just to kind of push it down in there. And I don't know if it made a difference, to be honest, between that and doing it with your fingers. I did this one as well, but I don't end up using this one. It didn't come out as crisp as I wanted it to. The stamps and everything, the stamps and the molds and all that, it's really just kind of getting used to it and practicing, and that's basically the gist of it, right? The more you use it, the better you are at it. Now I am going to use some stuff from Chalk Couture. I am a Chalk Couture designer, so I'll have these listed for you below in the description box. You'll see my Chalk Couture links. Go check them out. And obviously, you know, if you're still making Christmas stuff, these are great options. If not, check it out. There's tons and tons of things available right now. I'm going to use two different paste colors. This first one I didn't end up showing because I didn't like the way it looked. But on this one I am going to use both Shimmer Spruce and Black Velvet. I had to think about the name on that one. I was about ready to apply it, then I was like, nope, I don't want those strings. So it's really easy. You just tape it off. This is just some painter's tape. It's that easy. The actual transfer, the stencil part, that's what they call it. It is called a transfer. It is actually fabric. So when you put some, you know, when you actually add your tape to it, it's not going to hurt anything. I add a good glob, technical term, of the Shimmer Spruce, and then I'm going to add a good glob of the Black Velvet. Now, we're going to do a little bit different of a technique than just putting it on there. I'm going to take off my excess on the green color, and then I'll add it back into kind of like the middle area. I'll do the same thing on the black. Now, if you have excess left over when you're doing like just a regular like application of it, you can put it right back in the jar. And now I'm taking my finger and I am just going to mix the two to give it kind of like an ombre effect. It doesn't come across as well on this because I don't have a big area that I'm doing it on. But if you do it on a bigger project, it really is a cool effect. But here's how they turned out once I peeled it back. Now, they're fabric, obviously. They can't really sit on a tree like that. So I am going to just add a coat of Mod Podge on here, and I will kind of fix down my fabric. This wasn't really necessarily inspired by anything. I had a different idea initially that I saw from Pinterest, and it was like a really far distant interpretation of it, I guess. So I didn't even put the picture of it from what I'd seen from Pinterest. But I will then just give it a good coat of Mod Podge underneath and on top of that fabric. And this fabric is really nice to do chalking stuff onto. Like I showed you on this one right here, it's really easy, especially if you've never used fabric with it before. It's a good starter. As I was applying my Mod Podge, the black started to run a little bit. So what I ended up doing is just glossing over a little bit of where I chalked, and then I just left it and came back later and kind of gave it another good coat. What we'll do here is we're just going to, of course, trim down the fabric around this circle. And these are, I believe, a 4-inch. if I remember right. And then I'm going to take some sandpaper and I'm just going to remove all the excess fabric. Now, if you go back and forth, it's going to give you more of a frayed edge. If you go straight down, it'll give you less frayed edge. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's kind of however you prefer it. Now I've got some Distress ink. Now this one is from Tim Holtz, and this is the color Walnut Stain. I'm just doing it just like you would if it was paper. I took I did around the edges first so that it was a little bit more concentrated, a little darker. And then I'll just do it all through the whole part that is covered in the fabric. I kind of liked the idea of it looking a little bit more worn, a little bit more of like a stained look. Because it's just, to me, it just fit better, right? You have to let me know, would you rather it without the stain? Do you like it with the stain? And now on this one, I'm gonna get a little fancy with it. I've got my crocodile, and I'm just gonna punch a couple of holes in the top part of my ornaments because they need somewhere to hang, right? And I had a little frayed bit of fabric. You can use a little bit of a lighter, and that's another thing I was thinking about trying too. Instead of cutting off the excess, I've seen where some people will burn it. I haven't tried it yet myself. I'm kind of a little intimidated because I don't want to set my house on fire, but I might have to try it sometime soon. I saw somebody do it with a napkin so far. Have you guys seen anybody do it with fabric? Do they potentially burn their house down? Because those are my concerns. I'm gonna add that same twine that I've done for the other projects, just kind of keeping everything the same, And then once we do that, we'll pretty much be done with this project. I think they all turned out super cute. Yep, there we go, Theresa. Tie that knot. All right. I'd like to cut off the excess. I don't want them to be too long, too shaggy. But here's how they turned out too. Turned out pretty cute as well. I'm pretty happy with all of my my ornaments today. And here's a little video of all of them. And I hope you guys enjoyed your time here today. And if you're coming from the playlist, thank you so much. If you haven't checked it out, the playlist, go ahead and check it out. I'll have it linked for you below, of course. And I want to say a big thank you to Brandy over at DIY Struggle. She has been amazing putting all of this stuff together all month long on this playlist. And I will see you guys next time.